Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Darkworld deck profile. So this deck is a really fun deck that's actually one of my favorite decks of all time, because it actually was the first deck that I ever had that breached 20,000 views on my channel. It's a really fun deck that's just amazing to play around with, and just a overall really cool deck that's been topping even now, even though since this deck came out back in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX era, which is really cool with the dangers being introduced. But I'm actually not playing a danger variant of this deck because I'm not a big fan of Danger Darkworld. I'm actually playing some interesting tech cards in here, so before we get into this, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Grapha, the Dragon Lord of Darkworld. So this card is a really interesting card that is a level 8 Fiend type monster, and when it's sent to the graveyard, basically you can return a Darkworld monster on your side of the field to your hand to be able to special summon this card directly from the graveyard. And then it also has the ability that if this card is discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to target one card your opponent controls and destroy that target. And if this card is discarded from your hand to the graveyard if this card is discarded to the graveyard, then you can pop a card your opponent's side of the field. If it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you can look at one random card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, special summon that card to your side of the field, which is really cool about this card. One copy of Overlord of Darkworld. I just play a single copy of this card because you can actually get this card pretty live. It's a really good card. If it's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to special summon it from the graveyard and destroy all monsters or spell and trap cards your opponent controls. You get to pick either or, but it has to be sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect to trigger the second effect of this card, where it destroys everything. 2 copies of Lucent. Lucent is a really good card that if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to special summon it from the graveyard, and if it's sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, then you get to special summon a Fiend monster from your deck to either side of the field, which is a really good effect to be able to just special summon Fiend monsters anywhere that you want to be able to special summon them. 3 copies of Snow. If Snow's discarded to the graveyard, she lets you add a Darkworld card from your deck to your hand. But if she's discarded to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, you get to target one monster your opponent controls in your graveyard, and then special summon that target in face-up defense position, which is really cool to be able to do. 3 copies of Brow. Brow, if it's discarded to the graveyard, you get to draw a card, which is a really cool effect with some of the cards that we play in this deck, like our copies of Darkworld Dealings. Darkworld Dealings lets us, discard a card and then draw a card, so this card's really good to be able to combo with Darkworld Dealings because it's like drawing 2 and discarding 1. I play 1 copy of Beige. Beige is really good because if it's sent to the graveyard or if it's discarded to the graveyard, you get to special summon it from the grave. So it can kind of really help you combo off to summon your Grapha over and over again. Then I play a single copy of Cerule, Gru of the Darkworld. So this card's an interesting card in this deck. If it's discarded to the graveyard by a card effect, you special summon this card from your graveyard to your opponent's side of the field in face-up defense position. And when this card is special summoned by the effect of a Darkworld, your opponent must discard a card. So basically, you special summon it to your side of the field. If it's discarded, you special summon it to your opponent's side of the field, and then makes you discard one of your Darkworlds, which then again triggers their effects, or their secondary effects as well. 1 copy of Tour Guide of the Underworld. It helps us go into Link plays as well as XYZ plays. 2 copies of Dark Spirit of Banishment. It's a really good card in Darkworlds. I highly recommend that you guys give this card a shot. It's so good. I didn't realize how good the Dark Spirits were going to be until they came out and I started playing around with them. But this card is absolutely crazy. It works with Grapha. If your opponent attacks at the start of the damage step, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and then target a level 8 Fiend monster in your grave and special summon it. But its effects are negated, and if you do, change the attack target to that monster. And if a level 8 monster you control is sent to the graveyard while this card's in your graveyard, you can add it back to your hand. So it just constantly gets Grapha out over and over again. 1 copy of Malice. I just play a single copy of Malice. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard and then target a level 8 Fiend monster in your grave and then special summon it, but its effects are negated. And if a level 8 Fiend monster is sent to the graveyard while you control this card, or while this card's in your graveyard, you get to add it back as well. And then I play a single copy of Cursed Necrofear because it's really easy with Gates banishing your Darkworld monsters to have 3 banished Darkworlds in your grave. or in your banish pile, so you just want to play the one copy of Cursed Necrofear, and plus these bring back your Cursed Necrofear as well, and it makes a 28 beat stick that just can pop cards over and over and over again. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. Highly recommend that Dark Spirit engine. It's really cool. One copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is really cool because it lets you send a fiend or lets you send any monster you want to the graveyard. So you can send something like Cursed Necrofear to the graveyard or your Grapha to the graveyard. Depends on what your plays are. One copy of Card Destruction. Card Destruction is absolutely crazy in this deck because it can trigger so many of your Darkworld cards so quickly that your opponent won't know what to do. 3 copies of Call by the Grave. Call by the Grave is a really awesome card in this deck because basically you just don't want to get hand trapped, and you're going to be drawing constantly in this deck, so you just want to play the Call by the Grave so you don't have to deal with that. 3 copies of Gates of the Underworld, or Gates of the Darkworld. All Fiend monsters gain 300 attack, and then once per turn, you can banish a Fiend and then discard a Fiend to draw a card. Really good effect to be able to get all those particular cards effects off. 3 copies of Drag Down to the Grave. Drag Down to the Grave is actually the guy that's on Call by the Grave, and it's really funny to be able to play them both in the same deck. But basically, you and your opponent look at each other's hands, and then discard a card from each hand, and then you both draw a card. Really good card in Darkworlds because you can dwindle your hand down to the point you have the one that you want them to discard, reveal that one, discard it, and then trigger its effect, and then draw another card. Then we play 3 copies of Darkworld Dealings. Darkworld Dealings lets us draw a card and then discard a card. Both players get to draw, both players get to discard. Really good card in this deck. 3 copies of Allure of Darkness is the last 3 spells that we play. Basically, everything's dark anyways, and it works really well with Cursed Necrofear because Cursed Necrofear can just get those banished fiends back into their hand or back into the graveyard, or just get them back out of the banished pile so we can have Allure of Darkness to be able to draw more cards. And it's not that big of a deal if we banish something anymore because that's kind of our fail-safe card that puts us a big 2600 Fiend on the field as well. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing quite a few. We're going to be playing 2 copies of Darkworld Brainwashing. So Darkworld Brainwashing is a super interesting card that really helps out the strategy that when an opponent's monster activates its effect, if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, except during the damage step, you can target one Darkworld monster on the field, return it to the hand, and if you do activate the effect, or the activated effect becomes discard 1 random card in your opponent's hand. So it can trigger your other Darkworld monsters' effects by activating this card and having 3 cards in your hand. Now sometimes you do burn through your cards, but you have to really resource manage when you're playing Darkworld Brainwashing and when you're playing this deck, because you really want to activate that Darkworld Brainwashing to be able to stop your opponent from activating effects, and you can really damage your opponent's strategy when you negate something and this card is just flipped and they're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And you just trigger 2 of your Darkworld effects right off the bat. Then we play 3 copies of Eradicator Epidemic Virus. This card ends games. This card is bonkers. You tribute a dark monster with 2500 or more attack, and then your opponent, you call either spells or traps. Your opponent discards and destroys every single spell or every single trap, whichever one you call. If you're playing against Altergeist, you call traps. If you're playing against Sky Strikers, you call spells. It ends the game. You OTK your opponent because they have no strategy at that point, because you can cripple an entire deck just with this one card. And we have 6 main deck targets for this card. If you count Lucent when the gates are on the field, you have a total of 6 targets in the deck when you activate this card. So a lot of targets for Eradicator Epidemic Virus, and I highly recommend it. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're playing the 1 copy of Boral Sword to OTK our opponent, Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, because we do play so many level 8 monsters in the deck, and it's really easy to make this card and have the buffs. 1 copy of Unicorn to bounce stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters. 2 copies of Wee Witch, because Wee Witch helps us a lot, because we can actually make Wee Witch and then boost all of our monsters up by 500. With Gates and this on the field, it boosts all of our Fiend monsters up to by 800, which can be really big, especially on a Cursed Necrofear, almost making it 4,000 with that Wee Witch's Apprentice and the Gates on the field. 1 copy of Heretic Seal or Heretic Sun Dragon Overlord of Heliopolis. We're not that concerned about having stuff in the graveyard, so using Heliopolis to tribute certain cards is really beneficial because you can tribute stuff and pop stuff on the field. 1 copy of Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon to pop a card on the field, along with Cypher Dragon to take a card your opponent controls onto your side of the field. Divine Dragonite Felgrand to be able to make it immune to all other card effects, which is really cool. 1 copy of 38 Hope Harboring Dragon Titanic Galaxy, just to make it so we can negate spells. And then I have a really interesting small sub-engine here with the number 97, along with the Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon and the number C107 Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. It's really easy to actually make these because all you have to do is put Wee Witch on board. If your Wee Witch survives on your side of the field, you just make the number 97, detach the material, and then summon number or Galaxy Eyes Tachyon Dragon. Yes, it will be losing about 400 attack points, but still 4,100 is a lot of damage that you're going to be able to do to your opponent. And then you can tribute 2 monsters to make it attack 3 times. So you can tribute the Dragu or the number 97 and the Wee Witch to make it go back up to 45 to be able to attack 3 times, which is really, really cool to be able to attack 3 times on monsters. So it's really easy to make this card in this deck. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this Darkworld deck profile. It's definitely one of my favorite decks. I really enjoy playing this deck. It's so fun to be able to play around with Cursed Necrofear. I didn't realize how versatile that card was going to be when it came out. And then now playing around with it, that card like can be splashed into any Fiend deck that you want to play it in. I even thought about playing Dark Occlumency in here or the Dark Spirit Mastery, but I just didn't want to play it in here because you're burning through the deck with so many draw cards anyways that you really don't need it, and I'm not about to play Destiny board in a Darkworld deck because I'm going to discard it by accident. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. Definitely hit that bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See you around, guys.